How to do the smothered mate. First queen check. Knight f7 check. If he take with rook queen e8 checkmate. So he have to move the king. Now knight a6 double check with queen and knight. He have to move the king. Now queen sacrifice checkmate protected by the knight. Now knight f7 checkmate. And that's how to promote a pawn to a queen. You try to take opposition of the black king. Here you play king f5. Now again the opposition. Now if you play e4 it will be a draw, black will take the opposition. We play a waiting move e3. Another waiting move to let black move. e4. Now king f6. We take opposition king e6. King f7. Now you promote the pawn to a queen easily. And that's endgame trick you have to know. If the bishop color is different than the cornered promoted pawn is draw. All you have to do is black you try to stalemate. You don't play king f8 here. If you move the bishop in same diagonal is stalemate. If you play h7 is stalemate. You play bishop e4. You try to push the pawn. Can you win with black pieces here? Take 5 seconds to think. Rook c7 check. And now with the insane move. Rook h7. Queen have only one place to check. Queen d6. Rook d2. Now white lost his queen. So he have to take the rook. Rook a8 check. Rook a7, white lost his queen. How to checkmate with a knight and a bishop. You have to move his king to the corner same color as your bishop. You play a waiting move bishop g2. Knight f7 check. Bishop d5. Knight e5. Knight c4 to prevent d6. Now king f6. Knight e5 prevent d7. Knight g6. King e6 prevent d7. King d6. You play a waiting move bishop c4. Bishop e5 prevent king e8. Bishop c6 prevent king b7. Knight e5 to get better position of the knight. Knight d7. Knight c5. Bishop d7, the king can't go to b7. King c6. King c7, his king can't go a6. King b6. Knight a6. Bishop c6 checkmate. How to checkmate with two rooks. It is one of the easiest checkmates you can do. You start with rook check. He will try to move his king near to your rooks. You do check with the other rook. Now you play your rook far from his king. Now you play the other rook the same way. Now it is easy rook check. Check with the other rook. Now rook a8 checkmate, and that's how to checkmate with two bishops. You try to limit his moves and put him in the corner. To checkmate. Bishop d4 so he don't go to another rank. You try to use the king also to limit his moves. Bishop f5 to push him to the corner. Bishop e5. You are using your two bishops to push him to the corner. Bishop c6. King c3 so he don't go king b2. King c2. Bishop d6. Checkmate. And that's how to checkmate with two knights. It sometimes happen if black has extra pawn. You force one knight to stalemate. The other knight tries to get good position and checkmate the black king. Now black is forced to move the pawn. Knight f5. Knight e7 check. Knight g5. Knight f7 checkmate, and that's. So you have to promote 4. Can you draw with white in this position? If you play king e7, you lose the pawn. You have to play king d7. King d5. You push the pawn. Check. If you go king e8, you lose the pawn. You have to play king d8. King d6. You promote for queen, you take checkmate in 1. So you have to promote 4. The knight. How to draw in this chess endgame. If the bishop colors are opposite to each other is draw in most cases. All you have to do is to protect your pawns and try to make them same color as your bishop. Even if your opponent have extra pawn or 2 pawns, you can draw. Just do repetitive moves and don't push your pawns. And keep your king protecting your pawns and the bishop. And this endgame really happens in a lot of games and very important to know. And that's. White is in trouble here. Black was pretty happy and thought he would draw, because he is attacking the rook and also threatening rook check and take the bishop. So white came with a genius plan. Can you find the move? Rook c4. Now with the genius move king e6. h4 rook is trapped. Rook can't go anywhere. And black has only one move. King e8. Now there is easy checkmate for white if you can find. Rook c8 checkmate. Endgame trick you have to know. If the pawn you promoting versus the queen is in the c or f file is a draw. Black will try to take the pawn with the queen and king. And you have to keep your king near the pawn. Queen f6 attacking the pawn and king. Queen e6. Now black start to use his king. Queen check. Queen h5. Only if black play a move like queen g6, attacking the pawn and king. You play this insane move king h8 leaving the pawn. If he take the pawn, stalemate. If he didn't take the pawn and play check, you do repetitive moves in g and h file. And draw. How to draw versus cornered pawn. You have to move your king to the corner or take opposition. If you play king e3 you lose, black take the opposition. And you can't move your king to the corner. You have to play king e2. King f1. Now you put your king in h1 and stalemate. If black plays king h2, you take the opposition. He can only move the pawn or the king. If he go back to g3 you go g1 and h1 and stalemate. And now stalemate, he can't move any piece, and that's. Can you win with black here? You have to take the bishop to win. And to take the bishop you have to do the right queen check and check with attacking his bishop. If you go queen c1 and queen b2, queen e5. Now queen d4 to take the bishop. He will block with rook and you can't take the bishop. You have to play queen e3 check. Queen g1 check. Queen d4 check. And now you take the bishop. And now white to draw is sacrifice the rook. How to draw with black pieces here. If you play f4 it will be blunder and white will win. Because you let him enter with his king and attack your pawns. If you try to push the pawns he will attack with the king and the rook. And your king have to leave the protection of the pawns. You have to use your king to limit his king from entering and attacking your pawns. You play king f5. King f4. Now you push the pawn because you can't use the king. g2. King f3. Now you have to push the other pawn. White best move is to try to go for the other pawn. f4. King g3. And now white to draw is sacrifice the rook. Can you win with white here? If you play king c5, it will be a draw. Black will play king c7. Now you are forced to go back with the king. And black take the opposition. c5. You have to play king e5. Black tries to take opposition. You play c5 to force black to move. King f4 to push black to move more far. King e6. King e7 the opposition. King d6 now black is forced to leave the pawn and white wins. Can you win with black here? You need to promote the pawn to win this endgame. Black only move is rook c2. You have to use the king to help to promote the pawn. King d2 try to rc1 exchange the rooks. King f2 white to remove the pin. Rook c8 to rook f8 check and make white king go away from the pawn. Rook f8 check. King c3 to push the pawn. Now white will try to do repetitive checks to draw. You start to play d2. Now to win put the king in d1. Now rook f1 to promote. You try to go to the rook with the king on b and c file and now you win.